Very good afternoon. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC News Break. Well, the polls are open as Democrat Hillary Clinton and Republican Donald Trump seek to make history in the U.S. presidential election. Clinton and Trump both held their final rallies in the early hours of Election Day. It was, however, Mrs. Clinton who was first to cast her ballot.
She and her husband, the former president, went out to vote around 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'd been told she was going to show up a bit earlier, around 6:30 this morning, but that would have been hard to do given the fact that she arrived back at White Plains around 3:30 this morning, greeted by supporters. She was greeted at the elementary school where she voted this morning by, among others, her Congresswoman, the Democrat Nita Lowey from this area. She talked just a bit after she voted. And interesting, listen to the tone of Hillary Clinton, trying not to show any sign of inevitability, suggesting that if she wins, she's going to do a good job for the entire country. Listen to this.
It is the most humbling feeling, Dan, because, I know how much responsibility goes with this, and so many people are counting on the outcome of this election, what it means for our country, and I'll do the very best I can if I'm fortunate enough to win today.
This campaign has been so careful about the issue of tone coming all the way down to Election Day, putting out even the fact that she's put together both a winning speech and a losing speech, depending on what happens tonight. Hillary Clinton expecting to have a very light schedule throughout the day here in New York, going to do a number of radio interviews and then make her way over to the city for what she and her supporters hope will be a victory celebration.
Well, the Trump campaign, meanwhile, is not too concerned about the polls.
If we talk about polls, you can move polls around. I was pretty good at statistics. I mean, depending how you do your samples. I mean, there's a lot of leeway in all of these things, and that's why they change every 5 minutes. But
you don't lie about poll numbers.
My father,
that's what I'm saying.
I say I wish people saw the employer. I wish people saw the father, the grandfather, because there is a point in time where you do have to speak loudly, where you do have to be aggressive. Your voice is never going to get heard otherwise. But if those people saw the guy at a dinner table, if those people saw the guy that's employed tens of thousands of people and had their livelihoods in his control because his success was so dependent on their success. Those are the people. You see story after story of those people that have worked with him for 30 years that really know the real Donald Trump. And that's different. And that's, I think, the Donald Trump that America is starting to see, is starting to know. And I think that's the Donald Trump that America really needs. I think we want someone from outside of this system who's not part of this corrupt scheme where everyone in D.C. has done really well while the rest of the country hasn't seen an effective pay raise in 20 years. That's what our political class keeps promising us, but they never deliver. When they do, it's affordable health care. Well, it's not really affordable when your premiums go up 100%. It's not really affordable when you have a $9,000 deductible, which means you have to get hit by a bus to actually have your insurance kick in. But it's these false promises after false promises. That's what America's rallying against.
And so if Hillary Clinton wins today, tomorrow, what does your father do with the movement that you all started?
I guess we'll see. We've been worrying about the here and now, but ultimately, hopefully, we just shed some light on the process. We hopefully get more people involved to be able to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I can go out there and actually speak my mind freely without being worried about being put in some sort of basket, about being boxed in a corner.
And back at home now, the National Union of Public Workers is still waiting to hear from the Personnel Administration Division, or PAD, regarding the future of NUPW President Canny McDowell. The union warned yesterday the PAD has until the end of today to respond or face a coordinated action by the island's unions. At issue is a decision to remove Mr. McDowell from the senior post of Health Planner 1 and have him revert to his substantive post of Environmental Health Assistant, where he started in the public service more than a decade ago. The NUPW has deemed the move not just an attack on their president, but on the trade union movement in general. The union met with shop stewards yesterday to bring them up to date on the impasse and said they have a mandate to do whatever is necessary to resolve the situation.
Our next move, we will be meeting now with our sister unions. So that'll be our third move. We'll bring the unions together and we will strategize from there. Obviously, I would not go into the finer details because we have to be very careful. Everyone is not confidential, and we need to be very strategic about our plans.
The Royal Barbados Police Force has made some headway in their investigations into Friday's shooting in Speightstown, St. Peter, which left Ricardo Vincent Corbin with a gunshot injury. The 39-year-old Datetree, St. Peter resident was shot in his left lower abdomen while at Goddings Alley. The two are Mark George Daghorn, 49, of West End Queen Street, Speightstown, and Rico Stevenson Graves, 28, of No. 1 Broomfield, St. Lucie. The two were formally charged for the offences of wounding with intent and use of firearms. The duo appeared before the Whole Town Court, where they were both remanded to Her Majesty's Prison Dodds, there to reappear in court on December 5th. Well, 3 Barbadian drug couriers were nabbed as they attempted to smuggle drugs into the island on Saturday through the Grantley Adams International Airport. The 3, all from St. Michael, are Melinda Bowen, 40, of No. 63 Regent Hill Pinelands, Nikita Lucinda Harewood, 25, of Block 10C Factory Avenue, Wildy, and Corey O'Brien Williams, 37, of Upper Culmer Rock. Now, the trio managed to clear immigration but were stopped and interviewed by police. They were then referred to customs, where an examination was conducted of their individual suitcases. Bowen and Harewood were carrying 14 transparent wrapped packages containing cannabis in 2 suitcases, and Williams 7 packages in 2 suitcases and 6 packages in a 3rd suitcase. The drugs were all concealed in false compartments. Bowen, Harewood and Williams were subsequently arrested and formally charged with possession of cannabis with intent to supply, trafficking and importation. The 3 appeared in court yesterday. Corey O'Brien Williams pleaded not guilty to the charges and was granted bail in the sum of $60,000 with 1 surety. He is to reappear in court on February 7th next year, while Bowen and Harewood both pleaded guilty to the charges, and they were both fined $15,000 each for the offense of importation, to be paid in 12 months or 3 years in prison. The 2 women were convicted, reprimanded and discharged on the other offenses. 1 in 4 of the inmates released from prison in Barbados is again convicted of another crime and returned to the penal institution. Head of Sentence Management at Dodds Prison, Lena Weeks Phillips, says that's according to the most recent research into recidivism.
The last study conducted by the Criminal Justice Planning Unit, formerly the National Task Force on Crime Prevention, would have indicated a 61 to 64%. That's overall, because recidivism is characterized by rearrest, reconviction, and reincarceration. And so we would have to have another study conducted to get those specifics in relation to the numbers. But at that time, in relation to reincarceration, it was around 24 to 25%, with the last study being conducted.
Ms. Weeks-Phillips adds that of those reincarcerated, most of their offences relate to the illegal drugs trade.
The most significant and challenging population that we have would be those recidivists, and they are the drug offenders, persons who are charged for specific drug offenses, as well as we realize there's a correlation in between the type of crime they're committed and their specific addiction. So you find like petty offenses like theft and so on, people stealing in order to facilitate their habit.
In other news now, as the nation prepares to mark its 50th year of independence, one local company is continuing to push the Buy Local campaign. Sunrise Chicks is standing by its products as its director, Heather Spencer, encouraged Barbadians to embrace the campaign. The company showed its commitment to Barbados, partnering with the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation and its Guardians of the Heritage Initiative. Ms. Spencer was joined by several staff members decked out in their national colors to witness the flag raising.
We are a local company of Barbados supplying with local chicken, and you'll see it in the many supermarkets and stores. And we produce a good quality bird, and it is locally all grown and reared and processed. And we want to encourage you. We want to thank our many customers and also encourage you to continue to buy local so that it will continue to build our economy, and by so building our economy, our nation. And this morning we want to say thanks to all our customers, and we will say happy independence to all Barbados.
Well, Chief MCTV Officer Andrew Green says the company's journey from startup is inspirational.
When you started out as backyard farmer, some 34 years ago, and then you grew and were incorporated some 18 years ago, and risen to the status that you have now, where you're supplying so many operations within Barbados and the general public. We especially welcome you as one of the guardians of our heritage, and thank you for your involvement in this project with us.
Chief Executive Officer of the Financial Services Commission, Randy Graham, has resigned. Mr. Graham's resignation takes effect from January 1st, 2017, when he will be moving on to other personal and professional pursuits. Graham, who was first recruited by FSC in 2012 to the position of Director of Insurance and Pensions, was later appointed to the leadership post of CEO in June 2014. In expressing gratitude to staff whom he said had bought into the strategic vision of the organization, Mr. Graham noted that during his tenure they were pivotal in FSC's development. He says together they were able to develop and apply cutting-edge regulatory assessment models that in its relatively short existence have helped it to earn the respect of its fellow regulatory bodies locally and internationally. During FSC's annual lecture held in April this year as part of its 5th anniversary celebrations, Graham was credited by Chairman Sir Frank Alleyne with moving expeditiously to create an organizational structure in FSC that has its foundation in excellent corporate governance and succession planning at all levels. We'll take a break here, but when we come back, news from the region and further afield. Stay with us.